Hi, I'm Anthony from learningtoplaytheguitar.net. In this video we're going to learn how to play two-string power chords. Okay, the first power chord we're going to look at here is a two-finger version of the A power chord in 5th position, or on the 5th fret if you like. So the 5th fret is where my dot is here on this guitar in particular, and my first finger will go here on the 5th fret of the E string, and that's an A note. Third finger stretching out to here, 2 frets away on fret 7 of the D string. So this finger in the middle here isn't doing anything, it's just having a bit of a break. And all we really want to do is strum these 2 strings, just those 2 that my fingers are on. I'll just move my hand over so we can sort of see that a bit better. So just strumming those 2 particular strings. I don't want to hit the other strings, which is the challenge of this, and we'll go through some muting tips to make that work in a minute in another angle, another camera angle. So that's A. The next chord we're going to do here, and just do a little 3-chord tune around this, is D. So I simply pick the shape up, move it down a string to there, and again I just want to strum those 2 strings in particular, which can be a hard thing to do. So this is where I'll talk about muting in a second to help that sound to be nice and clear versus having a whole bunch of other unwanted strings. And then the third chord in this little rock and roll tune we're going to look at is E, and this is a higher version of E versus regular E chord we might have played with before. So up here on the 7th fret, so I have another dot here, or this guitar has 2 dots, but there should be another dot, most guitars, on top of the neck there. Lean over, you should be able to see those dots there. So that's number 3, 5 and 7, and there's also a 9 dot there. So this one here is E. Again, the same shape, just the 2 strings. Get my little plucking hand over. Hopefully you can see that, or let's move over again. So that's my E there. So I've got A, D, E, D, A, D, E, D, and A. So the main thing is, once you get this pattern going, you can sort of place it all over the neck and play a whole range of sort of simple rock sort of songs. Very much a sort of a punk sort of sound to that. Okay, to help you with your power chords so you don't hit the unwanted strings, there's a few tips you can do with muting with your fretting hand. So if we didn't mute anything, for example, let's move over a bit because I'm going to jiggle around a bit here, is this 2-finger version of the power chord. You can end up with this sort of very mushy sounding thing, but all I really want to hear is these 2 strings here. And so to help me do that, so if I accidentally hit these other strings, I'll actually want to mute them. So far with other chords we've been looking at, you're trying to not mute strings and trying to stop things being blocked, but in this case we actually do want to block strings. So to help us do that, so when we accidentally hit these other strings when we're rocking out, we want to lie this first finger down here. So this guy here, I want to make sure he's actually lying over and deliberately muting these other 4 strings. So then we just have these 2 and a whole bunch of muted strings, so I can sort of versus. Sometimes you want that, but not often. So the muting is just lying that finger over, just lightly touching the other string. Don't press down, then we're dealing into things called bar chord territory. But that's a little tip behind that, between there. So that's, say, for the A power chord we looked at. Then the next one is the D power chord, where we move the fingers over, and again we'll lie down this first finger and mute these other strings. So we've got all these other strings are muted, and we can then rock around there. So another little tiny tip I'm going to show you here is my first finger here is actually also going to just very lightly touch the edge of this 6th string up the top here, so that it helps me avoid that sort of thing happening. So I'm just going to touch very lightly the edge of that string. So in this case I can thrash away on all 6 strings, but I'm only hearing those 2 notes ringing out. So with muting, we get that nice clear sound. Without muting, we'd end up with something like this, which sounds very different. So muting is one of the big tricks to getting a nice clean power chord sound. And when we slide up to the E, we just keep that same shape there. So this finger's like in a groove as he comes along, this first finger, so it's touching the edge. So you can sort of feel that with the very tip of your finger there. So you're not really pressing down on it, you're just touching the very edge of it. So it's muted again, and the same thing with the first finger down. We're thrashing away. There's your E. So you got A with that other muting, you got your D with that other muting, with that muting, and then E, same thing, just slide it up exactly same shape with the same muting tricks. So there's muting with the first finger for those 3 power chord shapes. So the other power chords we're going to look at the lower down versions using open strings. So the first one only uses 1 finger is E, which is like a very easy version of an E chord. So this one is using the open 6th string here, and then plucking the A string with my finger there on that 2nd fret. And again, just the 2 strings. And again, we'll go into muting tricks here. So as we go through this, I actually lean my finger over so it touches the other strings just a bit on the side there. So versus having that, which is a type of E minor chord called E minor 7, I really just want the 2 strings. It sounds a bit tougher. And mute the other guys I'm going to strum through. So that's E. The other one we're going to look at now is A. Another way of playing the A. Before we had A up here on the 5th fret and the 7th fret. We're going to play the same 2 notes but over here. So you can play the same chord in various spots on the guitar. This one is, again, 1 finger only, but in this case it's moved over to the 2nd fret of the D string, and now it's going to pluck the 5th string and the 4th string. Again, just 2 strings, and again I will lean over my finger a bit here and mute the other strings so I can rock along there. And so then the 3rd chord in this little demo of 3 chord rock and roll sort of stuff is B. So this note here is B, where my first finger will move over, and again it's the same shape from before with the original ADE power chords we looked at just previously. So first finger here on the 2nd fret and 3rd finger here on the 4th fret. So one other thing I forgot to mention as well with all of these is trying to get the thumb behind the neck, pointing upright, so twist around, so trying to avoid it going sideways, otherwise it's very hard to stretch your fingers out. So I really want to have it upside down a bit there, but pointing upwards as we swivel the guitar neck back. So we're trying to go for that sort of shape, so it gives me good support and stretch, especially when we're down here. It's a bit more stretchier than when we're further up the neck. So this is B, again just plucking the 2 strings I'm touching on the neck there. So then you might have, again with all these other muting tricks as mentioned before with the other ones, but you're going to have something like E, A,